know, I'll tell you, there is something that I wanted to say, because I was very honored, very, very honored, when I heard that President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton was coming today, and I think it's appropriate to say, and I'd like you to stand up. I'd like you to stand up.
President Donald Trump recognizing his opponent from that bruising 2016 campaign and her spouse, former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee for president, Mr. Trump, with a reconciliation of sorts at the luncheon there in Statuary Hall on Capitol Hill. We continue with Newsmax special live coverage of the inauguration of our 45th president. And now we want to welcome in a couple of guests. First, joining me on our national anchor desk, Tom Mosloom, who is the president of the M Network Branding and Strategy Group, and via Skype from deep in the heart of Texas, or really down there on the Gulf or close to it, down Houston way, it's Jill Robin Payne. Jill's a licensed professional counselor. She's the author of the book, Meeting People, It's Not a Game, and she's got a great radio gig. At 1070 a.m., The Answer in Houston, she is their regular relational analyst. So Jill, to you deep in the heart of Texas, and Tom, to you here on the anchor desk, thanks very much for being here. Jill, let me start with you, because ladies first. Just have to, you don't mind that,
no,
do
that's
you, Tom?
absolutely
That's
fair.
Mr. Trump gave a speech that outlined the vision, and Tom and I were talking during the break. He was saying, still, it's kind of a take no prisoners speech, but that move and that impulse to welcome the Clintons at the luncheon. Yes. Your take on that? Just graciousness, or is, you know, we don't think Trump is a calculating guy politically, but he's got a pretty good gut and intuition about what to do quite often.
Yes, he's a businessman. And a matter of fact, I was going to talk to you about the model that I'm thinking that he's using, which is the Lewin's change management model. And one of them is including all the people you can into your plan. And so just recognizing the Clintons was an inclusion, so that was a plus.
Well, Tom, now let's go on and have the conversation publicly we're having during the break. Your assessment of the speech was that, well, I believe your word is took no prisoners.
Yeah, I mean, he went to Washington, he stood on the steps of the Capitol, and he used a flamethrower. He basically called all of the politicians rascals and said, you're all done. Your way of doing business is no longer. Now, it's easy to be gracious when you win. So, you know, him recognizing the Clintons is no skin off his nose. It would have been much bigger for Hillary to recognize him, which she did. I thought that was a much bigger, bolder move on her part. But he stuck to his brand. He stuck right to his messaging. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to get rid of all the crooked politicians. We're going to do things a new way. That was the speech in a nutshell. And that's what he's been doing on the campaign trail.
And those denizens of branding and relationships, I think, will like to hear just again some of the language from the inaugural address, specifically the promise to put America first. Here is the new president.
We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
Now, there are those in the punditocracy, Jill, who say, oh, that's reaching back to Charles Lindbergh and that's isolationist. But relationally speaking, I think a lot of Americans feel that the average citizen's interests have been suborned for different countries, for different considerations. Relationally, and with this model of change you're talking about, does this piece of the speech fit in with what you're seeing?
I loved it. And being a psychotherapist, JD, you'll appreciate this. I'll have clients come in to see me and the world is a mess. Their boundaries are all over the place. They're overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. They're helping all these other people. And then I tell them, I say, you know what? you come first in your world. Oh no, I don't come first. And they mention all these other people. And then I tell them this analogy. When you're on the airplane and the cute little stewardess says to you, when that oxygen mask comes down and you have a little kid or child next to you, who do you put the oxygen mask on first? You put it on who? Yourself. And what is the reason you put it on yourself?
So you can help the child after you've got the oxygen flowing to you. I remember
Right,
those briefings. I paid attention.
So it gets you to where you're healthy, you can concentrate, you're not stressed, or as little stress as can be during an incident like that. And so then you're able to handle the situation more clearly.
So
And that's what he's saying. So he's saying that we need to help us first put those boundaries around, not to block people out, but to get us together and to get us stronger. Put that oxygen mask on first.
what about
And then
your take on that, Tom? You agree with Jill?
I think she's being kind. I think that he's drawing a very stark contrast between he and the guy who stood in that very same spot 8 years ago and called himself and us citizens of the world. I think that he is drawing a straight line contrast through the Barack Obama brand of global citizenship to him and this new era of America first, us first, and American exceptionalism. That's what I think he's trying to do.
Well, and the thing about that, though, and we would have these arguments on the House floor. And I remember one day on television with Bernie Sanders having this argument, ironically, on MSNBC. And there's Bernie, who's got his own thing, but he was, we must reach out to the world. And I just asked him, and I think this is what Trump's doing today. Hey, Bernie, when you raised your right hand, did you take an oath to the UN Charter or the Constitution of the United States? So you prioritize, and we deal with the Constitution first, which deals with our governance. But speaking of MSNBC, gang, I've got to share with you what one-time aide to Thomas P. Tip O'Neill and speechwriter for Jimmy Carter, Chris Matthews, the Philadelphia kid, what he had to say today about Mr. Trump's speech. Listen to this.
When he said today, America first, it was not just the racial, I should say racial, the Hitlerian background to it, but it was the message. I kept thinking, what does Theresa May think of this morning when she picks up the papers and says, oh my God, what did he just say? He said America first. What happened to the special relationship?
So there is Chris Matthews saying the new president was Hitlerian. That may help Chris with his core viewers, but that sure doesn't build a relationship with too many folks coming into the White House, Jill.
Well, you know what, JD? Everybody is entitled to their perception. And so that is going to be their perception. So if that's their perception, then they're going to be reacting to it totally different than I am. I did not get that. I got just what I said. And it really is very difficult for people to understand that. I'm telling you, I have clients come in and they will say, Jill, that's being very selfish. So I'm understanding that some other people's views, of course, are believing and perceiving this as being selfish, when in actuality, if they look at their lives, when their lives are in shambles or not just a little bit unstable, they need to get themselves in order first. And that's pretty much all that's going on. I think people, Trump is a little bit bigger than life, so people may take it a little bit bigger than life. And I think that's what's happening.
Well, Tom, since you know about branding and strategy, what is, I guess it's just Chris's honest opinion, but Hitlerian?
Well, Chris doesn't know his history. I mean, the America First slogan, as you mentioned, was Charles Lindbergh and anti-Semites like Joe Kennedy, their cry to keep us out of World War II. So it's not Hitlerian, it's anti-Semite, and it's purely American. So, he's got to know his history.
But different slogans are used at different times. 20 plus years ago in 1992, Patrick J. Buchanan used it. Despite all the charges against Pat and anti-Semitism and all that, Pat was talking about restoring national pride, and it seems now, as John Gizzi was saying on our air earlier, Trump is almost speaking from the book of Buchanan, at least in terms of prioritizing.
Yeah, I'm going to bet you that Donald Trump has no idea that America First was a slogan used by Lindbergh and those trying to keep us out of World War II. I think it's his heart. I think that's what he wants. And to Jill's point, if you look at it in context, what he's saying is we're going to lead, we're going to form stronger alliances with our friends, new alliances with other people, and we're going to lead through strength on a global stage by focusing power and attention inward and getting healthy here first.
One last question, Jill, about the new first couple, the relationship for Donald and Melania. Is this thing going to change now to their residence of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? 15 seconds. Give us your take on it.
Well, just real quick, I saw something really cute because I am a relationships specialist. I saw Trump, he did his little pinky. They were standing by each other, and he did a little pinky thing, and then they held hands. So I think they're going to go strong.
The pinky approach to presidential hand-holding. Jill Robin Payne saw it. Tom Moslem knows about branding and strategy. Gang, thanks. We'll have more right after this.